Today I'll show you how to change the oil in this 2015 Nissan Frontier with the 4-liter V6 VQ40DE engine. First thing to do, of course, is to pop the hood. Okay, so now we're going to start by crawling under the car, of course. Now this piece right here, this is your either a splash shield or a skid plate, and we're going to need to remove that. Reason being, if you see that blue thing in there, that is your oil filter, and we're not going to be able to get to that unless we take off this piece here. So what we're going to do is at the back end here, there are 2 bolts right there and 1 down here. And then if you look in here, this whole skid plate and this trim piece here, they have those bolts along there. There's 4 of them. But it's probably going to be easier just to remove these pieces and take off this whole trim piece and the skid plate as one. So we're going to take off all these along here. Okay, so there are a total of 6 of these all along here. And I just have my drill with an adapter and a 10mm socket. These are all 10 millimeters. Okay, so that should all be loose. And then these ones back here are also 10mm. I'm not going to be able to fit my drill in there. Okay, so that's loose. See if we can get this whole piece down here. There's a little clip on this end, and on this end those come out. There we go. So this whole trim piece comes off, and then you have access to these other ones here. See if those are also 10mm. There's one missing here. Yep, also 10mm. And these ones are not the same as the other ones. I'll show them to you here. These were the ones that were holding this bottom trim piece here to the skid plate. As you can see, they look very different. And then these were the ones, and I think they're all the same. Yeah, they look to all be the same here. These were all the ones that were holding on the skid plate. Both the rear 2 and the ones that were holding it on to that trim piece there. Again, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. So that's what all those go to. And then those 2, same as these, but those were the ones that went to the back of the splash shield or the skid plate. And I just realized here that there's another 2 bolts, one right there, and one of course down there on that side that are still holding on this skid plate here. So that's probably another 10mm. Yep, it is another 10mm, but might be on there a little tighter, so I'm going to use my wrench. Yeah, torque's broken on it. Do this one over here. Alright. It's a hot day today, guys, I'll tell you. It's going to be over 90. So I'm trying to get this done as fast as I can. And as you can see, now it wants to come down. Just pull the skid plate out of there. Voila. And that's what our skid plate looks like there. Again, these were the last 2 that I just did. Those were the 2 in the back that were holding it up. These are the 4 that were holding it to the trim piece. And now you can see that we have pretty easy access to our oil filter there. Okay, now you'll need a drain pan of some sort. Don't forget to take out the middle drain plug there, and make sure that it has at least 6 quarts of capacity, because you'll need to drain about 5.5 quarts of used oil. Okay, so now if we crawl under the right front passenger side, right there, that is your oil drain plug. Okay, so now you need to, of course, slide the drain pan underneath there. And this is a 14mm bolt. You're just going to break that loose. There we go. Alright, once you get started, what I do is I always kind of like press up as I am loosening it. Of course, spin it to the left. And then at the last second, I pull it away. Try not to spill anything. There you go. You can see your oil draining into there nicely. So up top here, this is your oil cap. So this is where you're gonna fill your truck with new oil. Now, I just like to take this off while it's draining, just so there's not any suction, and it'll help it all drain out. Okay, so while that's draining, let's go ahead and change out your oil crush washer. Just take off the old one there. Here's what the new one looks like. Now, there is a proper way to put it on. So you want to put put that little horseshoe there on the bottom, on like that. And it should be a pretty snug fit at first. You have to kind of screw it on there, or whatever you got to do to get it on. Go ahead. These are the same ones for your automatic transmission pan as well. The same washer. And it's on there kind of crooked right now. I don't know why it's such a tight fit. There you go. I kind of pressed it on a little bit. Should be good to go. Alright, so just like that. That's how you want it. And then when we do the final torque, that will crush down and form a nice seal. Okay, so we're going to call that good enough. We're going to just wipe this area really quick around the drain plug. Nice clean threads. And we're going to hand thread our drain plug back on. It should go on real smooth. Just go down until you can't go anymore. There you go, hand tighten. Lift that up. Okay, so now you're just going to grab your torque wrench and you're going to torque it down to 25 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, just snug it down. Make sure that the crush washer is crushed. And then we will check for leaks at the end. And then if you just need to torque it down a little bit more, that's fine. You don't need to go crazy. It's just a drain plug. The only point of it is to stop leaks. There you go, that's it. That's what the fully torqued down drain plug should look like. Okay, now it's time to take off the oil filter. Now you might be able to do this by hand. Usually I can if it hasn't been very long. I didn't change the oil on this truck the last time. I only bought this truck about 2 months ago, and they had just changed the oil right before I bought it, so I let it go for like 3,000 miles, and now this is my first time doing it myself. So let's see if I can get it loose here by hand. Nope. So if you can't get it off by hand like me, these are two options. These are both called an oil filter wrench, two different styles. This is really just a socket that goes on the filter, and then you take a ratchet here. This fits a certain size one. It's too large for my filter here today. This is another type where you'll stick it on there, and then you'll turn it this way to tighten it. And then you'll get it loose, right? Because you want to go like lefty-loosey. So you'll put it on there like this and then turn that way. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. Okay, so it was a little hard there to film that, but I was able to get my wrench in there and just slowly break the torque on that and get it loose. Now I'll slide my pan under here, and I'm going to take this loose. Once you get it loose enough, see that oil's going to start dripping down. Oh wow. Looks like it drips right on the frame rail there. Oh, I see. That's what this is for here. This is supposed to guide that oil down around these frame rail and the sway bar here in the front. I'm going to finish taking this off all the way. There we go. And I'm just going to let that drain right in the pan there. Okay, so now that we got our old filter out and that's draining, let's go ahead and prep our new filter. There you go. As you can see, they're about the same size. I like this Mobile One brand. I've been using them for a while. Now, I would suggest definitely not cheaping out on a filter. Again, probably the most important thing that you can do for your vehicle is to change your oil regularly and make sure that you have clean oil in there. And so, you know, having a good quality filter is something to not be overlooked when you're doing an oil service. Now, what you absolutely must do is you have to lubricate the seal on the outside. So get some fresh oil here. Just dip your glove hand in there and then just rub it around the outside there. And that's all. That's all you got to do there. And then this is somewhat controversial, but what I like to do is I like to fill my filters. And the reason why is because if you have a dry filter with no fluid in it, on startup there'll be a momentary, you know, few seconds where there's very low oil pressure while the oil filter fills up with fluid. Now on some vehicles there's a method to prime the vehicle first. You can like press in the start button with your foot all the way on the gas and the brake at the same time, and it will turn the vehicle over but not start the vehicle. You'll need to research your vehicle to see if that's something that'll work on your car. Again, something you could do on all cars is you could pull like the crank sensor or pull the coil connectors to the spark plugs, and then your engine will turn over but not start, and then that will prime the motor. In which case you wouldn't need to do this step. But this is super simple, not hard to do at all. Don't fill it up completely, but fill it up. I usually go for about 75 to maybe 80%. That's probably good right there. As you can see, there's little bubbles as it fills all the little like cavities in there. But this way, you'll make sure there's not low oil pressure for a few seconds when you first start your car after the oil change. Again, this is kind of like controversial. I don't really know why. It's just a no-brainer to me. It doesn't take any extra effort, really. You know, it takes a couple extra seconds. So it's just something that I always do with all my filters. Again, if you have the sequence to prime your vehicle properly, then you don't have to do this. But a lot of people don't do that. So now we're just gonna go back under the car and we're gonna put the new filter on. Okay, so now you're just gonna wipe this down, make sure you got a nice clean surface for the new filter to mount to. Always be clean with your sealing surfaces, guys. That's good enough. And we're gonna start it by hand. It should go on super, super easy. If it's not going on easy, that means the threads are crossed and you need to start over. So always do this by hand, of course. I mean, there's really only one way to do it. All right, once you get to the point where it's like on there touching, fully mated, then you want to go at least another half turn to maybe even 3/4 turn. And that should be good enough. And at the end, we will come back and check to make sure that there's no leaks. But you don't have to use a wrench to tighten this down really tight. You can just do it by hand. Make sure that your glove is dry enough if it's too slick and you can't get a good grip on it. Okay, so I got it on there basically as tight as I can do it by hand. And that's how I've always done it, guys. I've never had any issues. And of course, like I said, we're gonna double check for leaks here in just a second. So now go ahead and wipe down any surfaces here that got oil spilt on them. Then you'll know if there's any new leaks when it comes time to check for that. Just a word of warning, guys, there's a hose right here that goes along here. And I accidentally tore it a little bit right here at the top when I was using my oil filter wrench to get the old one off. And so I'm gonna have to fix that now, guys. So be careful. So here's the automatic transmission cooler line that I damaged. As you guys can see right there, that's the crack. So definitely had to get this fixed. All I got was this new line here that I need to cut to length. And we should be all good to go. All it has is these little two clamps at the ends. Here's the automatic transmission cooler line that I fixed here. All good to go. Now take off your oil fill cap if you haven't done that yet. And stick your funnel in there. This will take about 5.5 quarts or so, guys. So once you're a little past 5 quarts, stop. Give it a minute to drain and then check your level. I'm using Valvoline Restore and Protect, guys. I recommend any synthetic oil that you like. That's 5W30 and a good quality filter, and change it every 5,000 miles. Again, I would not go past 5,000 miles, guys. I know some manufacturers nowadays say go up to 10,000, and yet a lot of those vehicles are starting to see problems once they get higher mileage on them. Why would a manufacturer recommend that if it's not good? Well, one theory is just to claim lower maintenance costs. You know, a marketing campaign, right? Claim lower maintenance costs. For some people that could be a factor when buying a vehicle. Give it a minute for the oil to drain, guys. Now right here, right next to the fill hole, there's a yellow handle right here. This is your engine oil dipstick. This is where you're going to check your fluid level. Go ahead and pull it out, wipe it all the way down, and you're going to reinsert it. Make sure it's fully seated so we get a good level or a good reading. And then as you can see here, they give you nice big marks for high and low there. And it's a little hard to tell because it's brand new oil, but I think we're pretty close to that high mark there. All right, so now it's time to put our skid plate back up once you've checked for leaks. So it kind of tucks in behind here, and we're going to do these two front ones first. Actually, you know what? I think getting one of the rear ones in first might help to hold it in place. All right, now we're going to get the 4 screws that go in here. One of mine was missing, these screws here. One of mine was missing, so I've only got 3 of them. But that's going to connect the skid plate to this lower trim piece here. These are also 10 millimeters, but they are different than all the other bolts. All right, now it's time to put on this lower trim piece. The front tow hook here on the passenger side goes right in this hole here. See these little tabs or like clips? You can kind of use those as a guide to help line you up a little bit. So one of them down here, one of the tabs kind of goes on this lower part here, and then the back one goes in there. And same thing over here. There's a lower one that kind of slides in and forward like that. Yep. And then right there. And then I just need to get a bolt in there to hold it. Alright, and once you're done zipping all these 6 bolts back in, you are done, guys. Good idea to maybe check your level in a day or two just to make sure that you got it correct once all the fluid has cycled through the motor. And hope this helps, guys. Again, every 5,000 miles, this is the #1 maintenance item to do on any vehicle, guys. You got to stay up on this one. So you might be able to skip on a few others, but not changing the oil if you want your car to last a long time. Alright. Those all feel like they're in there good. Yep. I don't think anything's going to fall off here. Oh, we gotta, almost forgot. Gotta do the 2 rear ones on the skid plate. I keep wanting to call it a splash pan, but it's a skid plate. And hopefully you guys aren't doing this on a 90+ degree day like I am. Of course, it's never fun when it's like 15 degrees in the winter either, so. And again, there's not really a torque setting for any of these. You just want to snug them up so they don't fall out is all. That's really all you got to do. So again, hopefully this helps, guys. I would say start to finish if you're not filming it like me and you don't have too much trouble getting that oil filter off. Gosh, I mean, you could do it in 25 minutes. Alright guys, so we're done. Remember to do it yourself.